This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, everyone. Hope everybody can able to see the screen and you can able to hear my voice.
Yes.
Any? Okay, fine. Thanks. So we were discussing the topic called flow of execution of SAP UI5 application, and as a part of that, we completed one part, part one. And in today's class, we are going to see the part two. So just to reiterate the flow, when you run any SAP UI5 or Fiori application, so this is the sequence of files that gets loaded, and let us recap what exactly happens in each file. The first file that gets executed is index.html, and the index.html is the only HTML file in your entire SAP UI file, and it has a script tag which is called as SAP UI5 bootstrap script tag. So because it loads the SAP UI5 runtime libraries from this particular JavaScript file, SAP UI core.js, that's why this is called as SAP UI5 bootstrapping. And it also loads some theme, and it assigns this particular namespace to the resource root folder, which is this one. And after that, the component.js gets loaded. So it has this sap.ui.define section. Even in the controller you have, so which is kind of a header file section in C language. So the needed libraries will be defined, whatever the needed libraries for this particular file, for this particular program. So these are loaded here, and a function will start with the same libraries in the same sequence with the shortcut names. And after that, there is a init function which initializes the component.js, and it makes a call to the manifest.json. The manifest.json is a configuration file. So we discussed what is the different configuration we have. And it makes a call to this root view. And root view means what is the very first view I should execute, and which is nothing but app.view.xml. So it is pointing to the view with the name. So you can see this is web app folder, this is view folder, and under the view folder there is app.view.xml. So it is pointing to that app. App means app.view.xml. Now inside this app.view.xml, you can see there is a view container loaded. We discussed about view container, what is the use and all in the last class. So this is your view container. The view container technical name is sap.yum.app, but sap.yum is a UI element library. So any library will be defined as a part of this mvc:view tag. So here is sap.yum, which is the library. So library will be loaded as a part of this one, and only the remaining part will be loaded here, which is app app, and we have given a ID. So this is the ID of your view container. Since this is a view container, so obviously this ID is ID of your view container. So the ID was given as app. You can change this ID as well, but don't change it. Okay. All right. So this is what we have seen till now. Now the rest of the part is the actual views, like view 1, view 2, or view 3, any number of views you can have as a part of your project. So these views which are present, which should be present in the view folder, so they will be picked up by the router and load those views into the view container. Okay, so we have also shown this in the diagrammatic approach. So this is your app.view.xml, black color one. The green color one is your view container. And into this view container, your views like view 1, view 2, view 3, view 4. So these views are loaded into the view container by a powerful person called router. Now in today's class, you will understand how this particular router pick the view and load that into the view container basing on the demand. Now what is demand, that also you will understand in today's class. Okay. So before we start with this router explanation, we have only one actual view in our project. So let us create another actual view as well. So app.view.xml will not be considered as actual view because this is a base view. This is the purpose of this view is only to give the basement for a building. Okay. Even though app.view.xml is loaded into the output, but it is not visible to the end user. It is not visible to the end user. When I run this application, can you see app.view.xml? No, you can see only view one, right? So let me run and show you. After the construction of the house, can you see the basement? No, you can't see the basement. Basement means not parking, guys. Under that also there is a basement, right? So that basement, can anybody see after the construction of the house? No. But does it mean that basement is not there? If basement is not there, we will not there, right? So basement is there, but it is not visible. So similarly, here also the basement is there. Okay, the basement is nothing but base app.view.xml. It is loaded into the output, but it will not be visible. It will be behind this view. So you can see only this view, but behind this view, backside of this view, the app.view.xml is there. Okay, just like I have shown in this diagram. So this black color one is there behind this green color one. Sorry, yeah, exactly. Uh, so what we are going to do is we are going to create another actual view so that I can also show you the navigation between one view to other view. So I'm going to create the next view, view 2. Now how to create this particular view 2? There is no direct option to create the view like when you right click on the web app folder, new view, something like that, we do not have. Okay, maybe in future recipe may come up with that option, but as of now we do not have any such option, that is create new view. Now what we need to do is, normally we copy any one of this view, paste it in the view folder to create the new view. Similarly, you also need to do with the controller, because view and controller are 1:1 relation, right? So two ways you can right click on the view folder, use new file option. This is one way, new file option, give the file name as view2.view.xml. Okay, and copy paste the contents of the view one, because the skeleton code will not get created. So let me go with this option first. So right click on the view folder, use the option new file. Now give the name as whatever the name that you want, view2.view.xml. So we have given the file name. Click enter. Now view2.view.xml got created, but no skeleton code. Remember, the skeleton code is generated only when you create the project. After that, you only need to write. However, writing the entire skeleton code is very difficult. So what we do in the real time is we simply copy paste this view1 code and paste in the view2. I'm removing this button not required. Yeah, so I copied the entire view1 code and paste it in the view2. Okay. Now, whenever you do a copy paste job, you need to be more careful. Why you need to be more careful? In the skeleton code of the view, this is view1.view.xml. Now this view1.view.xml is pointing to its controller, and the controller is view1 itself. So you can see this is the web app folder, this is the controller folder, And inside the controller, it is pointing to this controller, view1 controller. Okay. But when you copy and paste the same code for the view2, now even the controller name is pointing to the view1, which is absolutely wrong. So you need to change this to view2 immediately. Okay. And to recognize that this is a particular view, so you can give a specific title. Even for the view1 also, I'm changing the title. So let's give the title as view1, just for our understanding that it is view1. And for the view2 also, let us give a title. So every view should contain some title. Okay. So let's give the title view2. All right. Now the view creation, the new view creation is over. But when you create a view, SAP said there should be 1:1 relation between the view and the controller. So we also need to create the controller. So again, right click on the controller folder, new file, and give the file name as view2.controller.js. Now hit enter and open the controller. So it contains no skeleton code. You need to copy this skeleton code from the view1 controller, control A, control C, open your view2 controller and paste it. Now we have successfully pasted the skeleton code. So when you pasted the skeleton code, you need to remember in the skeleton code at line number 10, it is pointing to the current file, which is the view1 here. Now, since you copied this code into the view2, so even in the view2 controller, it is pointing to view1, which is wrong. So you need to give view2 here. So whenever you copy and paste the files for the view creation and the controller creation, you need to be very, very, very careful, and especially the newbies like you do this mistake. You create the views, you create the controller, but you do not change the view names, you do not change the controller name, and you will simply come back to me and say, Rizwan, I have done as it is the way you have told in the class, but it is not working. Okay. So you need to be, this is very, very important. Yeah. So now we have successfully created a new view and a new controller. So let us close all of this. All right. Now we are going to understand this last step. Our actual views are ready now. So the actual views, view1, view2, and so on, any number of views you can have. So these views has to be loaded into this particular view container, okay, by the router. But there should be a demand from the end user, or there should be a situation to load these views into the view container, correct? So without the demand of a particular web page, why do you load it just like that? Okay. Now I'm going to explain one example. So if you pay attention and if you clearly understand this example, you just assume that you understand router. You can confirm that you understand router. Okay, now pay attention to this example. Let's say I have a website, http://rizwan software solutions.co.in. Now this is my website, means web application. Website means what? Web application, correct? Right. So people, when they hit this particular website without adding anything, so this is the website and I have not added any other URL. So with plus empty means I just hit only this URL. Now people will get the home page of this application. People will get home page of the application. Now So if anybody tried with rizwansoftsoul.co.in slash about us, they will get about us page. They will get about us page. Okay. Now here, what is the difference between this and this URL? This URL contains only rizsoftsoul.co.in without adding anything. But this URL contains rizsoftsoul.co.in is as it is. But in addition, this also contains slash about us. So it is loading about us page. For example, let's assume this is having, if you hit this URL like careers, this will load the careers page. And similarly, if you hit the URL, same rizsoftsoul.co.in slash contactors. So this will load the contact page. Now here, this is something everybody might have known, right? So everybody are using web applications like Amazon.in, Paytm.in, maybe in the browser, only in the browser you will experience this. Might be when you are booking some tickets using web browser. Okay, nowadays everybody are using apps, that is second thing. But uh, if you would have experienced this kind of web application, the URL through the web browser, then this is our behavior of any web application. So basically, there is a universal standard for any web application that you develop in any technology. Okay, it's not only SAP UI5. In any technology, if you are developing a web application, you must follow this particular standard. And what is that standard? The standard is every web page that you are loading must have a unique URL. So that is the reason the home page URL is not same with the about us, and about us page URL is not same with the careers, and the careers page URL is not same with the contact us. If you want, you straight away open facebook.com and check, try to load the different pages, and you will definitely see there is a change in this particular part. But this part will not change, that is facebook.com or amazon.in or apsrtc.in or tsrtc.in, okay, irctc. Go to any website, so this particular first part will not change. And anybody know what is this part is called as? This part is called as, this fixed part is called as, anybody know what is this?
Host name?
Host name or
Yeah,
domain name. Okay,
domain name. Yes.
so this is actually the domain name. Okay, so uh, what exactly this particular path will do, this will connect to the server in which your application is running. For example, I open the browser and hit facebook.com. Now what happens when I hit facebook.com? It simply connect to the server. Okay, it simply connect wherever this Facebook server is present in the entire world. Does not matter wherever it is. So immediately my request will go and connect to the Facebook server, right? So basically the domain name internally converts into a IP address. Since the human beings cannot remember the IP addresses, so let's say this is one website, but how many websites I have? There are many websites in the world, correct? So as a human being, how many IP addresses you will remember? You can't even remember one IP address, forget about 10 IP addresses, right? So that is where the domain name concept came into picture. Uh, for example, I want to hit facebook.com, so I cannot remember the IP address. So what these Facebook book people have done, so they purchase some domain, okay, so with the name facebook.com. So under, behind the scene, this facebook.com is connected to the IP address of their server, okay. So every domain name is linked with the IP address, so I don't want to get into the networking details and all. So basically this is this is basically called as the domain name, and domain name means the server basically, okay. So go and connect to the server, to that particular application. Now uh, so this has connected to the server and to that web application, basically to that particular web application, okay. So that is why this will not change. So the fixed part is called as the domain name. The fixed part is called domain name, and internally the domain name converts into a IP address and points to your server and the web application as well, okay. Inside the server we have the web application, correct? Right. Now what is this changing part, and what is this changing part is called as? The changing part is called as the URL pattern. The changing part is called as URL pattern. The URL pattern decides which web page to be loaded from your web application. I hope you know some the web application basics. Any web application works like a client and server architecture. Okay, so let's say this is my server. Okay, this is my web application server. Inside my web application server, what I will keep my web application. And what my web application will contain? The web application contains web pages. So these web pages can be developed in many technologies like HTML. We have developed in the views which are in XML, and there are wide variety of technologies to develop the web pages. Okay, right. So I have the web pages like my web page 1, web page 2, web page 3. So in our case, we have home page, we have about us page, we have careers page, and we have this contact us page. Now, now you opened a laptop and you hit the URL rissoftsoul.co.in. Okay, so this is the URL you hit. Now what happens? This is your client, which is the browser, Google Chrome browser. Now this domain name converted like a IP address, and it connects to this server, and inside the server it connects to this web application. So it receives the request. Now it checks what is the URL pattern. Any URL pattern is there? No URL pattern. So when there is no URL pattern in this web application, you will write uh, a separate file will be there. So that is called mapping file. So depending on the technology, that file is called as different names. But anyway, I'm just calling that as a mapping file. So in this, you will keep a mapping file here, mapping file. So in this mapping file, you will mention the URL pattern and a web page to be loaded. Web page to be loaded. So I'll just keep this here, the URL pattern and the web page to be loaded. So this is mentioned in this mapping file like this. So if this fellow hit the URL without any URL pattern, means empty. If that is the case, then load home page. If this fellow hit the pattern about us, okay, about us, then load about us page. So like this, each and every URL pattern, each and every URL pattern is linked with some web page, and this particular mapping is done in a mapping file. So this mapping file is called as there are different names. If you go to Java Spring Boot, there is a different name for that. Okay, if you go to .NET, there is a different name for that. If you go to Angular, there is a different name for that. And similarly, in SAP UI5, there is a different name for that. Okay, and in SAP UI5, we call it as router configuration. You will understand in few seconds. Just wait. Okay, right. So this is a mapping file that also, this mapping file is also part of this web application. Okay, now when you hit rissoftsoul.co.in, the request go to the web application. It checks what is the URL pattern. What is the URL pattern, guys? Empty. What is the URL pattern? Come on, you need to answer from now. So I just hit the domain name. Did I hit any URL pattern? No,
No.
no URL pattern. So no URL pattern. It receives the request. In the request, the web application analyze the request and it understand that okay, this fellow has hit only the domain name but no URL pattern. So immediately it checks the mapping file. In the mapping file, it was clearly mentioned that if there is no URL pattern, then please load the home page. Please load the home page. So immediately the server returns the home page to your browser, and you can happily see the home page on your screen. And that is how any web application works. So this is again the web application basics. And if the end user hits rizwansoftsoul.co.in slash about us, for example, then again the request come and the web application checks your URL pattern. The URL pattern is about us. So in the mapping file, it is mentioned to return the about us page. So this about us page is returned, and immediately on your browser, you can see about us page. So whatever you are doing from the browser is called request, and whatever the server is sending you, it is called response. So any web application works in a request and response manner. So whatever you are asking, it is giving you, it is serving you, and that is why it is called server, because it is serving you. When you go to a hotel, you will say one plate upma, and he will bring the one plate upma. And immediately you will say one plate dosa, and he will give you a one plate dosa, right? So he is serving you. So that is why he is called as a server. Okay, and you are asking, you are making the request. So that's why you are client for him. You are client for him, right? All right. So this is just the basics of web application. In case if any people who do not have these basics, that will help. So that's the reason I just pitched in. All right. So now you might have understand that every web technology has this particular mapping file, so which maps the URL patterns to this particular web pages. Now, in our web application, how many pages we have? We have two web pages, that is view 1 and view 2. Now, you need to decide some URL patterns for these views, and you need to configure that particular mapping like on empty pattern which view should come, and on the other pattern which view should come. Okay, so now let's write the domain name. So when you run your application is running from the SAP's cloud platform. So the domain name will be little lengthy. So this is your domain name, my dear friends. So this is the domain name. Okay. So since it is occupying most of this place, so I will simply say domain name of VAS. Okay. Domain name of VAS plus no URL pattern. So if you simply give the domain name of VAS without any URL pattern, then my view 1 should get loaded. Okay. So let us assume view 1 should get loaded. Now again, domain name. So let me copy this. Now we need to fix some URL pattern to load the view 2. So let us say slash view 2. As of now, I'm going with slash view 2. If at all end user along with the domain name of business application studio, plus if we add some pattern that is slash view 2 in the URL, then view 2 should get loaded. So this is what I have decided. In the beginning, when you are taking the business requirements from the functional team or from the business, from the clients, this functional requirement will be converted into the design by the functionals, means they decide how many pages your application should contain. Now, let's say the functional team has said your application should contain 4 pages. Then you will decide 4 URL patterns. So pattern and one pattern, remember one pattern must be empty. So this is also one standard, my dear friends. Whenever you develop a web application, there should be one URL pattern with empty. Empty means nothing. Empty means nothing because end users will hit response@soul.co.in. That's all. I will hit facebook.com. That's all. I don't know what is the next URL pattern, right? So there must be one URL pattern with empty. One of you are not in mute. Sushma, on mute. Right. So there should be one URL pattern. There should be one URL pattern that must be empty, and all other URL pattern must be different, must be unique. Okay. So this is what I have decided for today's class. So we have view 1 and view 2. I want my view 1 to be loaded on empty pattern, and I want my view 2 to be loaded on the pattern called /view 2. Now the actual picture is coming into your uh, so in front. Now let us see where this particular mapping is being done. So this mapping is done. First of all, this mapping configuration is called router configuration. Okay. And this router configuration is part of the manifest.json. And fortunately, even this router configuration is given as a part of the skeleton code. It is given as a part of the skeleton code. We just need to slightly modify basing on the requirement. When our project got created, how many views we have? Only one view. So the router configuration is also done only till here, that is on empty pattern, load the view one. That's all. But it does not know how many views you need. So it will not give this particular second views configuration saying that on this URL pattern /view2, you load the view2. Guys, here some people may think like this is view name. No, this is the URL pattern. This is a URL pattern, okay? So if you get confused, I'm removing this and I will call this as second view. Okay, because some people think after the slash, in the URL pattern, I need to give the view name. No, this is the view name, but you don't need to give the view name. For example, this is about us page, but I can give any URL pattern here. Okay, but generally we give some similarity, same the view name we can give here, but technically you can give any name. Okay, I can give ABCD also here, /ABCD. So when the web application finds /ABCD, it loads the view to. So this is just a mapping that is on which URL pattern, which view should be loaded. So this is just a mapping, but URL pattern can be anything. Now here, some clients, they are particular about this URL patterns and they only give you the URL patterns. Okay. Some clients, I have worked with those clients who gave this URL patterns also. Then you just need to keep those URL patterns as a part of your routing configuration. And some clients, they don't bother about these names, so you can give as per your wish. Then only purely developer's choice. Right. Now, so this particular mapping, as I told you, is called routing configuration. So routing is nothing but it's a configuration which mapping the URL patterns to the views. to the views to be loaded. So if you understand this routing configuration, then this flow is over. This entire flow is over. Right. So let me open this routing configuration now. So go to manifest.json, and so if you see, from line number 69 to the line number 97, so this entire configuration is called as routing configuration. This is called as routing configuration. If you want, you can minimize this as well. So I minimized it. Routing configuration. Okay. Now this entire routing configuration purpose is, I have written already. The routing configuration, it simply maps the URL patterns to the views to be loaded. This is the ultimate purpose of routing configuration. However, this routing configuration, this task, it will achieve by using 3 sections. So routing configuration is divided into 3 parts. So there's an interview question as well. So routing configuration contains how many sections, and explain each section. So there's a interview question as well. So the first part is called as the default config, means default configuration. So default value configuration. Second part is called routes configuration, and third part is called as uh, target configuration. So the default configuration contains some default values, and the developer no need to touch it. This is the default value configuration. The second part is called routes configuration. So here in the routes configuration, your pattern is mentioned. Okay, your URL patterns and some name for the route, So some name for the route and pattern is mentioned. And once this pattern encountered, the pattern calls something called target. So at the bottom, target. And this target, what it will do, it will simply load the view. Okay, corresponding view. So it loads the corresponding view. So basically, ultimately, the thing is mapping the URL patterns to the views to be loaded. So the same task is accomplished in 3 stages. Okay. For example, you went to a hotel, you ordered something. Okay, let's say you pay for 1 plate dosa. Now what happens? You take the token, and the token will be received by some person. But the actual person who is cooking your dosa is different. So that section is different. He simply, the token receiving person is different. The token, he simply to take the token, and he will say 1 plate dosa, and the person who is actually cooking your dosa is different, right? And after that, the delivery section. So somebody else will collect your dosa, and they will keep it on your table. So 3 sections are there, correct? So similarly, here also, ultimately you are, what exactly you are doing is, you are mapping the URL patterns to the views to be loaded, but this is accomplished in 3 stages. Now let us see these 3 stages. Expand. Yeah, so first section, this is called the first part of routing, which is called default configuration section or default value section. You can also call this as default value section. Right. So router class. So router is a library, and this is the router library sap.yum.routing.router. So since this library is there, so this is the fellow who will pick your view from the view folder. See, there should be some person, right, to pick the view from the view folder and load it into the view container. And this entire job is done by this fellow called router. And this is the library sap.yum.routing.router. So view type XML, that is default value, asynchronous to default value. So view path default value. So your view is present inside the web app folder. So this is the web app folder, and inside the web app folder, your view is there. So all the views will be inside the view folder. So it is pointing to the view folder. That's all. And router can go to this view folder to pick up the views. Control aggregation pages. So basically it loads the pages. Control ID means this control ID means where I need to load the views. So we need to load the views in the view container, correct? So I need to load the views in the view container, the green color one, okay? And the view container ID, control ID means view container ID. So let me open app.view.xml. So we already know that this is the view container, and the ID of the view container is app, and the same thing is mentioned in the control ID. So my dear friends, if you are changing uh, the configuration in the app.view.xml, means if you are changing this ID, you need to change the ID here as well. Some people, what they do, they change in this app.view.xml, but they don't change here. Now the router will not understand where is my view container, because the ID that you have given here is different and the ID that you have given is different. It will never ever understand, and it runs into error. So that's why I normally suggest don't change the ID. So clear control aggregation false, that's the default value, just ignore it. Yeah. So that is the first section, that is default value configuration, and I'm minimizing this section. Now the next section is very important, that is routes section and target section. The root section and target section, they talk to each other. They always talk to each other. So here there is small editing job needed. Okay. Now what I have decided to map on the empty pattern, I have decided to load the view one, correct? So you need to keep one empty pattern, that is mandatory. In this particular route, from line number 80 to the line number 86, this is called one route. This is called one route. Every route will have three properties. One is called name of the route, second one pattern of the route, and third one target of the route. In the pattern, for the first route must be empty. So keep that as empty. So this editing you need to do. Keep the pattern empty. Just double quotes, that's it. Now let me explain each property. Name. Name is a unique identification for that particular route. Okay. Like we have Mahatma Gandhi route, Jawaharlal Nehru route, or some other routes we have, right? For some roads we give that name. So similar to that. So for this particular route, they have given the name as route view one. Okay, so this is the name of that particular route, and the pattern for that is empty. And when this particular pattern is empty, it is calling a target. It is calling a target by using the property target. It is calling a target, and the target name is target view one. So basically, what happens now when you run your application, it checks, do I have only the domain name with empty pattern, or do I have, along with the domain name, do I have anything else? So when you run the application, I already told you, you will have only the domain name, no URL pattern. Yes, so no URL pattern is there. So pattern is empty. Pattern is empty. Yes. So when this pattern is empty, it immediately calls this particular target. The target name is target view one. So from line number 84, it jumps to the target section into exactly the target view one. Because you mentioned to execute target view one, so it will directly go to the line number 89 to execute the target target view 1. So it jumps to the other section, third section. Now in the target view 1, forget about all these properties. They are just the default properties. It does not matter at all. It executes the line number 94, the view name, which view to be loaded, and that is view 1. So view 1 to be loaded. So immediately the router pick this view 1, pick this view 1 from the view folder and load it into the view container, because who is asking? The customer is asking, the client is asking, the browser is asking. So immediately it will pick up this view 1 from this view folder and load it into your view container. That's how the view 1 come and sit in front of you. Okay. Now let us see the other properties. View type XML, default value. Transition slide, default value. Clear control aggregation, default value. So view ID. So you are, if you want to give some ID for the view, unique identification. For the view you can give. It's just a view ID, and it is, all these four are not mandatory, guys. All these four are optional parameters. Optional. Okay. So in general, we give the same view name as view ID as well. Okay. Right. So all the first four, you no need to worry. They are optional parameters. The mandatory parameter is only this view name, which view to be loaded. Okay. So you have done the mapping successfully on empty pattern. You want to load the view 1. Now who will do this? You need to do this. Okay. So how to do this? Now here you need to remember a equation, and that is number of web pages you have. So how many we have? 2. Then you should have the number of routes also same, and number of targets also same. So this equation is very important. Whatever the number of pages you have, those many number of routes you should have, those many number of targets you should have. So you need to copy this route from line number 80 to 86. Control C, because we have one more view. Now I will call this a new route with the name route for the view 2. Okay, it's a route for the view 2. And pattern should not be empty anymore. There can be only one pattern with empty. I cannot have another pattern with empty. So this pattern, what we have decided? We decided the pattern as second view. So keep it second view. And what should be the target? So when the second view slash second view encountered, you want to load your view 2, correct? So let us call another target. The target is target view 2, and I will copy this target view 1, copy and paste, and call this as target view 2. Keep all the default values as it is, only the view ID change it to view 2, and the view name also change it to view 2. That's all. So we have successfully accomplished this particular task of mapping our patterns to the corresponding views. So like this, as many views you have in your real time, you need to configure this particular routes and targets. That's all. And this is also copy paste job. You no need to do this. You no need to type this. Just copy and paste, copy and paste. Okay, do not type, because typing will definitely lead to errors. For these kind of things, you can copy paste, no problem. Okay, because they are just one time activity. So in the initial stage of the project, basing on the requirements, the functional will convert into number of pages. So they are fixed. Okay, so you can keep it. Even if one page added also, what is there? Nothing. You just need to add one more route here, one more target here. That's all. Okay. So now let us see if I hit this URL, view1 is loading or not, and if I hit this URL, view2 is loading or not. Okay. So whenever you run your application, my dear friends, it runs with the domain name of BAS, and this is the domain name of BAS, and without any pattern. So it's already without any pattern, it is loading view1. Now what I'm doing, I'm writing slash second view. So when you write slash second view, it should load the second view. However, SAP UI5 follows a small convention in the URL, and that is this domain name and the URL pattern should be separated with a hash symbol, hash. Okay, so now I am hitting the enter key, and you can clearly see that the view 2 got loaded. And I am removing this pattern. So let me remove this pattern slash second view. So Control X, I removed it. Now if I hit enter, I have not hit enter. So let me hit enter, and you can see view 1. So on empty pattern, it is loading view 1, and on the pattern slash second view, so you can clearly see it is loading view 2. Okay, so this is called the complete flow of execution, my dear friends. Okay, so this topic is very, very important. I can bet if you find this topic with any other trainers, I will give the complete fee refund for you. Okay, so such an important topic. Nobody will go through this flow of execution for sure. They will start directly with the UI elements. So this flow is very, very important. Okay, so that's all for today. So we have successfully completed the complete flow of execution of SAP UI5 application. So in tomorrow's class, we are going to see one real-time task we will do, and that is we will push our code into the Git repository. Okay, so in real time we do it. Every day I write some code and push it into the Git repository. So how to do that, we'll see. And every day's code will also be kept there. You can download from that Git repository. Okay, so if you have any questions, you can ask me. Otherwise, you can leave for today.
Sir, there is a correction in my email ID. Yesterday I informed you. You told
Yeah, so
to.
please tell me now.
I will ping.
So what is your, this is the one, right? Yeah, I'll remove this. Is
Yes,
this
sir.
your email ID you have given yesterday?
Yes, sir. This was my
Yeah,
personal email ID. I will give my correct email.
yeah, yeah, changed your email ID. All right. So
Thank you, sir.
again, so if any of you cannot find your email ID here, so please tell me now itself. Those people who are giving the email ID, those only will get your videos. So our coding has started today itself, actually. So today we have started the coding. So I will export this project and give it to you for today. So you can download this project like this, right click and download. I will share this through WhatsApp because the drives are not accepting the JavaScript files anymore. So I'll share it through WhatsApp and you can download it. So try to type the code, guys. Don't copy and paste, blindly. Routing part, that's okay. You can copy paste, no problem. But down the lines, we will write so much lines of code. So try to type it. In the initial career, I typed each and every letter, each and every line in SAP UI5, and now I can blindly, by the time you copy and paste the code and edit, I can type the code. Okay, so I got that fastness just because I typed it in the initial career. So what I would recommend is you watch the video whenever you are free and type the code along with the video. So that is better. All right, guys. Have a nice day. Bye bye. We'll meet in tomorrow's class.
Okay, thank you. Bye bye.